Okay, I'll share my screen as well. So that um, hopefully everyone can see my screen. So hello and welcome everyone. This is the Cluster API vSphere Cluster API vSphere office hours. Please abide by the CNCF code of conduct. That means that just be nice to each other, and if you want to talk or if you want to talk, just please use the Zoom's raise hand feature, and I'll call on you. Also, please add your name to the attendees list. That's about it. We'll move on to the topics of discussion, and I will then go over and we could go over the PRs and any issues that were recently raised in a bit. I see Yassine updating the agenda. So Yassine, why do you take it away?
Yeah. So just to let you know that 08 was released with the V1 Alpha 4 support. One of the things that we need to ensure now is all of the subsequent open PRs that still want to make it in the coming releases need to be non-breaking changes. So particularly like one of the PRs that we're going to probably see later needs to be reworked a little bit to be backward compatible.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, cool. All right, we'll move on to the topics of discussion. I think, Gitika, this was yours. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you. GPU proposal is still a work in progress, what I started doing is I slightly started implementing just to understand what exactly are the requirements and what I really need to add in the G proposal most likely. So if you please click on the implementation part, I have certain questions. If you guys want, we can go through the proposal, the initial part of the proposal. There are certain gray areas which I was not aware of. So I was actually going through the code and thought maybe I should have some certain things implemented that would give me more clarity to understand what is required and maybe ask proper questions here, which are then ultimately to be added in the proposal. Because there we do need to identify what would change and how would it be impacted on the reconciler, and how is the backward compatibility, right? So just to address those questions, I started implementing smaller things so that I know what exactly is to be so that I myself am aware that what exactly is needed to be done. So let me share my can I share my screen and then let's go through it?
Sure, I can stop sharing.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
No.
You have disabled part screen sharing. Who is the host?
I can do this. Can I? I'm not sure if I have the privileges to add you as a host. Why don't I share my screen and you can ask me to
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to the proposal first. So you might need to click on the first link.
Sure. This is the one.
Yeah, yes. So if you go, let me read it from there. Yeah. So I have tried to add a summary here, which is basically the proposal outlines ways to provision GPU support, etc. Then I have tried to identify the ways. So since our priority was like three of those were our priorities. So first one was vGPU, second one was GPU direct implementation, and the third one was PCI pass-through. So for vGPU, I have already started. So they were, yes, exactly. So Max had certain questions here also. I think this storyline is based on how things would be working from the backend side. So how things would work with vGPU. So do you want me to read the stories for that, or let's discuss and ponder on the stories? Does that work this way? Like, is it like okay for you, or you want me to skip this part and then let's quickly go to the question and answers?
I think we usually do the proposal reviews async. If there's anything specifically that you'd want to discuss, I would say that we can pick that particular part up.
Okay, then please go to the next link, the link that was there, where I have started implementations. Yes. So if you click on the latest code here, please go to the. Yes. So I have certain questions here. See, for example, so first question is like, so Max had on the proposal itself. Max had a comment that there might be multiple devices that could be connected, right? So PCI pass-through doesn't only enables vGPUs. It might be a network interface card also. So how do we? So that story I had written was for GPU PCI pass-through, right? It could be anything. It's not just like GPU specific. So, but for vGPUs, we have we in the VM operator itself, we have the provision of identifying only the vGPU devices, so that would work for us. But again, the question I have is like, if there are like two slots in my physical node, for example, and if there are two vGPUs connected, how is it gonna work this way? Like, if there are two vGPUs, how do we make it work that way? Like, so the question is like, do we have a, like, in for example, we could have multiple disks in storage, right? We could identify one as a primary storage and the other are there is a scheduling process going on. Yes, please.
So so this is like, at least the way I see it is like, you could identify things with the PCI slot. And if I recall correctly, VM operator has some of these APIs for PCI pass-through, so we can probably reuse them uh, uh, to the exact sense. So like, instead of having them on the virtual machine, they would just be on our vSphere machine. So yeah, I think they're probably doing that through the PCI slot, but I need to confirm. But technically, we should be able to identify, or at least match to the users what they want to do specifically with that. Like,
This is regarding like the PCI implementation or vGPU's implementation.
no, I'm talking like for PCI. For vGPU, you can identify like, but for PCI pass-through, you usually likely have to rely on the PCI slot number.
Yeah. And that's clear, right? But if there are like multiple vGPUs there, then what do we do? Like, how do we manage both of them? Like, do we only so there are more questions there. Do you have any idea how is it working in AWS? I don't think that's my opinion. What I have learned so far, like what I've tried to find out, they just have this connection of vGPUs and they simply get those vGPUs, right? But that's not the case with us.
Yeah, it's not like, it's not the same, especially for AWS, because then
Right.
you don't have to care about pass-through and things like that. So yeah, I like, my assumption is that we should probably identify things by the PCI slot and let the user choose specifically which GPU they want, and then yeah, and then use that uh, to provision the VM. I can probably reach out to you async with some code examples on how to do this.
So I actually picked them up from the VM operator itself. But I was still unaware, even if we are actually selecting particularly vGPUs, then why do we need to use the pass through the function which is like written pass through function to
So
get access to vGPUs?
pass-through is to have a dedicated GPU for your VM. vGPU is some sort of virtualization of your GPU device. So in some cases, you want the full GPU for one like for some workload that is intensive. So that's why we need to support like PCI pass-through and vGPU.
Yeah, that's okay. But do we have? Would there be? Is there a possibility that there could be more than one vGPU? Is it? Let's keep the PCI pass through side here. Just to be clear, because we are. I think we're mixing two ways. Maybe I'm asking two things here altogether. But if we only talk about vGPUs, is there a possibility that we have two kinds of vGPUs connected?
So technically, we should have multiple vGPU devices supported.
Okay, and we should.
If you hold on, let me send you one link. So if you check on chat, technically you should be able to reference multiple vGPUs. So this is an example on the virtual machine class CRD, and you can have like an item list of vGPUs, and like even without doing so, like in GoVMom, if I recall correctly, you can plug in multiple vGPUs.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, this is very useful. Yeah, this I can use this one for. I
So
be
this
able to.
is this is the CRD of the virtual machine class. So this gives you an idea on how it looks. If you want the Go types, you can check the API folder.
Correct, correct. This sounds very. Thanks a lot for this link. Yeah, I'll go through and maybe improvise my code there. Cool. Okay. Next question was regarding.
Should I keep scrolling?
Yes, yes, please. So I have certain comments. Yeah, so now since you have already cleared that do we need multiple there could be more than one GPU, then we can like really solve this. This is also solved. So would there be for example in disks, when we have multiple disk storage. So I was actually going through a PR that somebody had written already. There was a PR open. So there could be like capacity or something. Uh, for example, so is there a set limit? Something would we be setting a limit on vGPU? How much? What is the GPU computation power should be there? Maximum that should be supported by a node or something. If that, what is exactly that parameter that we need to support?
Sorry, to get your question correctly, are you asking, is there like a specific input that we should take in from the user and limit the usage of the GPU
Yes.
on that machine? Is that the question?
Right,
Okay.
right. For example, in a disk we have capacity, right? We if we set a capacity of a storage on a disk for a VM, then user cannot really use more than that. So is that kind of parameter is also valid for us, and do we need to add that?
Yassine, do you have any thoughts on that?
So sorry, like my connection was broken a little bit. So like, are you talking about specific? What do you mean specifically by capacity of a GPU?
That's what I'm trying to ask. Do we have certain? How do we actually measure GPU's effectiveness? I'm not aware of that right now.
So what we have for vGPU is something called profiles. So for
Profile.
example, you can have a profile that allows the VM to use at most 8 GB, like for example, or 10 GB of the physical GPU's memory.
Right, right, right.
So
Okay,
that's what you see like on the CRD link that I sent. On one of the field, you have the profile name that you have to supply.
okay. Oh, I understand that. Yeah. So from the CRD itself, it would be clear, right? Okay. Okay. I think then the next question is also solved. So yeah. Yeah. So this was the only actually this is a very smaller implementation that I tried to do. with vGPUs. I think with that CRD, a lot many questions would be like queries would be resolved for me. And most of these, yeah, there was this thing also. Do we make use of slices also, something like because when we internally, when we were having a lot of discussion in the team in India, so there was always this point was coming up that we mostly slicing of vGPUs is happening. So do we need to, so for example in vCPUs we have number of cores, right? Do we need to add a parameter called as slices also?
So I'm not sure, like for vGPU specifically, that we need to do that, but for others, like I need to look at GPU Direct. It's been a while, like it's been a year that I didn't take a look at it. But for vGPU, I don't think so.
All right. Okay. Cool. Then a lot of my questions are answered. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Yassine. Thanks, Kritika, for the discussion. I don't see any other topics of discussion. If we don't have anything, oh, Yassine, go ahead.
Oh no, I think you were going to present the issues and the PRs. So that's
Yeah,
fine.
I was just going to go over those. All right. That's not the. I'm just trying to see. I think we talked about this as well last time. Sure. Okay. I think this was Gab's issue, the issue that Gab had created to support data store cluster instead of just having data stores on the vSphere machine templates. And I guess like RT has been working on it. Is there anything that you want to talk about, RT, or like we can move on?
Not right now, because right now I'm working with the GovMami team to figure out how to get a list of candidate data stores for a particular data store cluster. I did reach somewhere, but I don't think it's working just yet. But I definitely want to debug a little more before I bring it to this forum.
All right, awesome. Okay, thanks. Looking forward to it. IPAM, allow network interfaces. Oh, I think we talked about this as well. Yassine, you are already assigned to this issue. So maybe.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to get a cluster set up. I didn't have time, but I'm still trying to do a cluster with Mac VLAN and Multis to try and see like what configurations are potentially acceptable for that use case or not. I'm probably gonna reach out to some folks in SIG network probably to see if they have some experience, because I don't have that much experience with Multis.
I think that the Antria team has some setups for that in their end-to-end tests as well, I believe, which run on VMC, some of them. So you may be able to get that from like Antonin, I think worked on that, on the integration there from VMware.
Yeah, thanks for the tips, especially that like, yeah, via like not only on VMC, but they also run on CAPV to provision the clusters. So I think that's probably gonna be helpful.
Yes, I think Antonin worked on that because he worked on the integration with Mac VLAN and validating that it works with Multis.
Oh, okay. I'll be reaching to Antonin then. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. As you see, this thing is, I guess it's a new one. CAPI test framework offers a way to run an upgrade followed by this issues request. Okay, so I think this talks about like adding an upgrade test, the one or like a similar one to the one that is already present in Cluster API upstream. So yeah, this just basically talks about adding a new E2E test in our test suite. Nobody is assigned to it. I'll probably go ahead and add like some details around how this is already done in Cluster API. Actually, like, yeah, CAF has already added that. So yeah, this issue is something that could be picked up by someone. Sorry, Gitika, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I was also going through this issue like today or as well as yesterday. So do we have a like dedicated list where we could, because there must be a lot of E2E tests. Should we first like AWS and stuff, they have a lot of things. I was trying to compare where we are now right now and where we should be like now. So should we first detail list down somewhere what exactly is a priority on E2E test, what should be done first, or maybe a little more clarity on where should be done, so at least if there are a lot of them, somebody can like pick up, like for example, I can pick up one or two tests some on and off and like finish them off, something like this.
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'll probably start a Slack thread on it, and then we could come up with a set of use cases and then like kind of effectively prioritize them, and then we can go ahead and start creating issues on those.
Sounds
CES.
good.
All right. So my CES team going up, thumbs up. I'm going to assign this to myself, not because I want to work on this directly, but so that I remember to create.
So yeah, I wanted to emphasize like on regarding tests, like the priority is basically the upgrade tests, then the conformance. Conformance are run somewhere else, like through other projects for CAPV. So like if we could have like potentially the upgrade cluster first, then conformance. Of course, conformance is also important because we need to be testing it on our side too. But since we have like in their signal, like the first one is probably worth to be like cluster upgrades.
That okay, moving on. This is an issue that was raised last week. Can we? Oops, sorry, either I did not see. Yeah.
Very naive question. What is exactly conformance? If you can you tell me quickly?
Conformance. It's a set of tests that basically run on the Kubernetes cluster, and like once those tests pass, then it's Kubernetes or like a Kubernetes certified cluster. Am I like totally wrong here? Yassine, Scott, Terry, Aarti, anybody else? Or Chris, if you know more about it.
It's like basically a set of minimal tests that like the Kubernetes community deem like necessary to pass to say you have a conformant distribution of Kubernetes. So like I think Terry linked one of the projects that we've been working on for a while, which is called Sonoboy. It's basically allowing you to run conformance tests, and it's basically what's being used in the wild.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah, so coming back to this issue, like, can we add a max pod support on machines or nodes? Exactly, I'm not sure what this is about. Maybe I can help. You think, go ahead.
Yeah, this seems to be asking on some API or knob to change the max pods on a node. I think technically that should be possible through the kubelet extra args in KCP and kubeadm config.
Yeah, it is possible because I've done that. I can pull up the config and then comment that here on the issue.
Yeah, sounds good. Now, Sagar, can you tag Scott?
Yes. He's got
vRabbi.
oh yeah,
The
yeah, the same match. All right, awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
All right. I think that was for the issues or the newer issues. Like in terms of pull requests, I know like this we talked about this proposal around GPU. I think this and this are the two new ones that we haven't talked about. This in particular might be interesting because this adds this is a breaking change in the API wherein it adds like multiple disks. I see Yassine. Yassine, go ahead.
Yeah, so like, so since we didn't like want to, like basically the PR is a bit outdated, it needed rebase and everything, and we didn't want to hold back the V1 Alpha 4 for much longer for users, so that's why we released like the 0.8 release. But this can still make it. If you scroll to the changes, I think I left some comments on the API. If you scroll down.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically, if you see here, we're making a change from this gigabyte, which is a mint, to a struct, which is like a breaking change. So what we probably want to do is like leave this gigabyte and probably add additional disks. And in V1 Alpha 5, then we can do probably the breaking change. This way, it would allow to ship multiple disk support for now and probably fix the API in V1 Alpha 5 or whatever API version come next.
I think, yeah. Thanks, Yassine. I can follow up with this answer on the question that the author has asked, and hopefully, like make it or like make the changes in a way that we don't have to break anything, and this gets merged in like one of the patches for 0.0.
So I work with Vignesh. So I guess just so I understand, you're suggesting that we leave that he leaves that disk gigabyte in there, and is that what you're saying basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Okay.
this at least would allow us to release the feature as soon as it's ready in the next release, and we can fix the API in the next API version of Cluster API.
Okay, I think I understand. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Dave. I guess there's this one more. I don't think so. We have talked about this before. Kritika, do you want to talk about this?
Yes. In my I think in the last office hours, we did discuss that we need to add API feature gate machinery, right? So that this was in response to that PR. This is what I understood basically. So I just created one, and we had a discussion on Slack as well, where we don't really need to add any specific feature gate. So this is just the the basic thing here. If you guys feel like we can merge it, or yes.
Yeah, I took a look quickly, but I didn't finish the review. Can you assign me Sagar into it so that it doesn't fall through the cracks?
Okay. I think it was very basic, and I didn't need a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Here, so right, this should be very.
Right. Thanks, Kritika. Thanks, Yassine. I think that's about it for proposal. For PRs and issues. Okay, I think like maybe Yassine and then Kritika. I did not see the order.
I can go. If it's, I just wanted to say that let's merge the previous one PRs if that's okay. I had like already done it last week. None of them have merged yet.
Sure. Like I think Yassine and I will take a look and like go through the PRs and see if there's anything left to be done.
I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yassine, you had your hand raised as well, or was
That's an old one. Sorry.
okay? All right. Okay, all right. I don't see any other topics of discussion. So, like, is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about before we end the meeting for today? Okay, going once, twice. All right, then that is it. Thanks everyone for attending, and see you all soon in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Bye.